Hello, everybody. Here we are one more time. Number four, week number four. This is our video number four to you. And here I am. My name is Renata Lagna, and I'm here with my dear friend.
Patricia Morris and my dear
Yes,
friend Renata. So happy to be here for week 4. Time is flying.
time is flying. So, this is one more of our series, Conversations from the Heart. And I don't know if you saw Patricia, but I just put a post on Facebook kind of describing a little bit what we do here together. And I was trying to describe a space between the right doing and the wrongdoing in that carefree zone that we can just like show up for, I don't know, full engagement of expression and having reverence to life, to truth, to each other, to the collective. So that's how I was explaining a little bit about our conversation.
Mm.
And what is the topic today, Patricia?
Conscious, mindful connecting. And how do we do that?
Sure.
If we, what needs to happen for that to happen?
Yeah. So conscious relating, mindful communication. Yeah, it's a great topic actually. I'm ready to tackle that. And just before we started talking in this formal way, Patricia had shared. Patricia, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit what Jesus said?
Yeah, well, he said a lot of really good stuff, but in keeping with this topic, love thy neighbor as thyself, which I was raised with that particular story often told to me, and it wasn't till I got older that I realized what he was implying. That's a really big statement that he's making. If you cannot love yourself, you're always, I'll speak for myself. When I am in a place of not caring for myself, I am going to be looking for someone else to do that for me. And that is too much for someone else to have that put on them. So, all the metaphors, visuals that we talk about, this concept of when you're on the airplane, put the air mask on yourself first before you put it on your kids, because for obvious reasons, if you're not well, you're not going to be able to help anyone. So self-love for me, another story is when my daughter was a baby and she was on the bike seat in the back and she was buckled in and had the helmet on tight, and I had no helmet on. And I'm driving down the street, and this guy watering his lawn randomly on Long Island goes, "What's going to happen when you fall and you crack your head?" Of course, at first I was mad at him because it was a little abrupt, but then I thought, his delivery was not the greatest, but it made sense to me. In order to be able to care for others, we have to take care of ourselves. And I think, particularly for women, it's pretty difficult not to put I'll speak again in the I, to put myself on the back burner. My mom would eat the burnt pork chop. And then I would say, "Mom, why are you eating the burnt pork chop?" "Well, someone has to." "No, throw it out and make eggs." So
Yeah.
and again, and I'll speak to, out of the voice of experience, when I am not doing that, and I am expecting you to do it for me, it's not going to end well. Because no one else can. We have to be responsible for ourselves. And I think as Renata and I discuss these issues, I get so happy about the thing that comes up often, which is sometimes we can't make these changes alone. We need another strong woman to say, "Hey, it's okay to tell your daughter you can't pick her up, or because you're in the middle of doing something, or whatever it is. It's okay. And it's necessary. It's necessary." And when we do it, when I can do it, when I can put myself first, I'm always amazed by what happens. It's always it's never what I think is going to happen. "Oh, they're not going to like me." And it's always an abundance of love comes towards me. When I practice self-love, connect to myself first, then it's a miracle what happens. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but.
It makes total sense. And you kind of like create this broad, you spoke so much about so much in that, in this little time that you open your mouth. Now, one that I realize is that when we say love thy neighbor as you love yourself, usually we go to the thy neighbor. Like we're like, can I love this person like I love myself? Like how is that possible? Because we know that it's not about the neighbor that knocks on your door and offers you a pie or a welcome, or maybe it's love the thy neighbor that it's kind of messing with your lawn, or smoking with your stuff, or whatever it is. Yeah? And can I love this guy, this person, like I love myself? I don't know. For me, when I read that thing first, that this statement first, I was like, can I do that? But now flipping the other way around, it's really interesting to say, oh, how much do I actually love myself? What is my relationship with myself? Is this relationship reflecting in any other area of my life? And based on what you're saying, which is the second part of what you were saying, is that if I get better in relating with me, then my relationship with the world will be better. Is that what you're saying? Is
Pretty
that what?
much. That's been my experience.
Mhm. So does it mean that creating a practice of self-love and kindness and forgiveness and acceptance will actually revolutionize, is that a word? The way we relate with other people?
Amen.
Wow.
You made
So
me think of another. I feel like I'm always throwing out all these quotes from all these brilliant men and
that is
women.
so amazing, because then we can really work on that, right? Especially coming from this guy that you just mentioned. So there is some value there. There's some way that, it's not just any other nectar or reflection of Jesus. Is his words. And we can actually stop for a moment and really interpret how do I treat myself.
Mm.
And this is number one, because the reflection of the external world, it's exactly what's inside of us. So it's not about what they are doing, it's about how are we handling ourselves. Which again, if I'm flipping this same equation, we can look outside now and see everything that we like, dislike, or is indifferent is a reflection of here, of
Yeah.
all of us.
Yes, and the
Right?
the way that you flipped that tagline from Jesus is important also to know that when I spot it, I got it. So the neighbor could be someone I don't like, and when I see them, I see something that I don't like, perhaps that I also embody. So if I can love the part of myself that gets rageful, not just angry, but rageful sometimes when I'm in traffic, like today when I was trying to get home on time for our Zoom call, then I can potentially do that for someone else. And that's why metta meditation is such a beautiful, if you've not ever heard of it, I highly recommend that you research it, METT meditation.
How about
Because
we
like
do it in the end? How about
we
we
could, we
do a
could.
very short one at the end of our session today? Because it is a really great way to start the day, to end the day, to find a space in the middle of the day. There is no contra indication for that. There's no adverse reaction from metta meditation. And so continue on what you were saying. Then you came and you brought up your mom and how she would eat the burnt pork. Is that what you? And how this past generation have been telling us a message of self-sacrifice for the sake of, and how we really is still, you mentioned women, and how we still really embody this much more than just in an intellectual way. It's here, it's in the DNA, because we heard so many times that is like part of who we are. And so creating freedom on this idea that there is a part of me that needs to be sacrificed in order for us to find peace in the world, in order for other people to feel happy or value or something like this, is a debunking of this idea. It's stepping into our power as women. But that doesn't mean that man doesn't have this feminine side that perhaps is also carrying a little bit of the vibrational wave of being a sacrifice. So yeah, looking at all these different parts or facet of our consciousness, and how sometimes it's so much easier to fall into the last on the line than in the first on the line. And the idea is not to actually blame society, motherhood, or anything like this, but it's to recognize it's there. And, if we know that there's a tendency that we live in a society that's the culture, then putting more effort into catching when that happens, it's more helpful than if we are just by default living.
And
Right.
yeah, and yes, and also, like you said, I love that word, debunk, to debunk the old myths, and to learn how, again, as women, to support each other. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of this great story. Marianne Williamson, brilliant writer, does commentary on the Course in Miracles. And she talks about how we as a culture have learned how to support each other in our smallness. And how do we support ourselves in our greatness? And she'll tell this story where she'll say, something wonderful happens. Oops, my phone just went funny. Something wonderful happens to her. Let's just say she gets a promotion at work, and she's telling everyone, and some lady says to her, who do you think you are? God's gift to the world? And she says, right on, sister. So to be able
Thanks
to,
for reminding.
yes. And also, I think, again, all of our conversations generally stem back in one way, shape, or form to the fear that exists as humans, and how maybe there's not going to be enough love to go around. How can or the idea that if I practice self-love, I am selfish, which is another myth that needs to be debunked. And also, we always come up with the same idea that it's not about being totally selfish to the point where you don't do anything for anyone else. That's not self-love. I think it's important to make that differentiation. My dear friend says, if you go to your yoga class and it's 3 hours long, and you come home that night and you can't get off the couch, and your kids need you to help you with your homework, you're like, I'm too tired from my yoga class, I can't help you. That's not self-love. The yoga class is supposed to provide energy for you to be able to do the things you need to do. So it's put yourself first so you can do your dharma more efficiently.
Yeah. And I think it brings us back, like, who is telling us how to be, and where's the target? How that we grade ourselves in this idea of, like, am I doing good as a mother? Am I being selfish? And I think, again, it's like it seems to me, at least because I am on purpose not giving energy to anything that is bringing me out of the state of mind that I want to be. I've noticed that there's a lot of abundance in the world, and I noticed there's a lot of people doing amazing work, and I noticed that there is a wave that's carrying me and a lot of us to this self-realization that we like to, it looks so nice on the book, it looks so nice on the movies, and and the idea again is coming back into yourself, into that home that you know where it is. And once again, talking about self-love and talking about like who is going to tell me if I'm doing a good job or not, you have to stem from how we feel the world. Because again and again and again, people say, well, should we always feel good? Should we always feel good? Yeah, we should always feel good. Always feel good. We give ourselves a little bit of a, it's almost like, for me, it looks like a little paper and says, permission slip to feel good. Like, oh, if I made a awesome lunch, now I can feel good. Oh, if I sweep the bathroom, now I can feel good. Whatever it is that in your mind, that makes you a better human, now you can feel good. But the feeling good, what we're really looking for with all these little tasks or big tasks, like purchasing a house. Oh, now I can feel good. They're very temporary. They're very temporary. Here we are. Yarn, achieve, happy, yarn again. Achieve, happy, yarn again. Achieve, happy. And we keep doing this. So if we could come into a place and understand that the alignment of the vibration into feeling good is a thing. Oh, I can feel good now. I don't even have to brush my teeth yet. Oh, I can feel good now. So let us see what that feels like. What it feels like to feel good. And then, play with it. Because in that feeling, if you're the kind of mother that went to a yoga class and for 3 hours couldn't move in the couch, that doesn't feel good inside. It doesn't feel good. But sometimes we have to do those things to feel not good and learn not to do the next day, right? So all is well. And talking about conscious relating and mindful, you know, um, techniques or mindful conversations also brings me to this idea that in this higher power, in this unifying with this field, we understand that life is perfect, has a rhythm. It's mysterious. I don't understand everything. But if there is a consciousness that's governing everything, that there is a continuum, there's a eternity about that. And this eternity implies that all is well. We may not be eternity on this planet, either or, our consciousness it's eternal. And looking from that place in a bird's eye view, it means that we're not here to fix anybody. It means that everybody's perfect the way they are right now, doing exactly what they're doing right now. Because if I say, I'm here because I need to teach you something that you don't know, I'm kind of implying that when I made the contract to come to this world, I saw the world as a broken place where there was this broken people, and my job is to tell them where the fuck to go. I'm sorry. I'm not so sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, we tend to find sometimes the urgency of leading someone where they're not ready to go yet. And we have to lose this, like, and I tell myself sometimes a little ago, let it go, let it go, let it go. Everybody has its own rhythm, its own time. My job is to be on my rhythm. Right? Do you relate with that, Patricia? Do you like?
I do. And I think we've sort of segued into the second part of that, of communicating this when you have to live with kids, husbands, boyfriends, co-workers, bosses. When you have the opportunity and the grace of coming from a place of centeredness or being centered from whatever, where maybe you meditate, whatever you do, and you get a sense of who you are, then you're also going to know when you're not at your best. So when you're not at your best and you love someone, you can then say, I love you. I'm not at my best. Let's wait till tomorrow. Which is a totally different animal than if you don't know and you're angry and your anger goes out at that person. I remember when my daughter doesn't live with me anymore, but when we lived together, you know, Renata always makes jokes about me that I turn into a pumpkin at around 8 o'clock at night.
It does.
Because I like to sleep enough and I get up early. So when my daughter was little, I would say, I'm about to sit down now for the rest of the night. If you need anything from me, tell me now, and then I am done. So I had to like really let her know. And of course, in the beginning, it didn't work. She's like, Mommy. And she also dubbed this beautiful thing called, because I like to talk, in case you guys don't know. So she would say, Mommy, I need quiet. Can we have together alone time? So she would sit on one side of the living room, her computer, and I'd be on my side. And that to me, she recognized I had a need. I needed to be with another living, breathing person in the room, and she needed quiet. So when we love people, that's sometimes not very easy to do. It's so much easier to be like, well, I want you to talk to me now. And instead, we found the middle ground. And I think that is not encouraged enough. You know, like you said, Renata, so beautifully about expectations on women, but it's also we expect other people to be the way we want them to be, which is not conscious relating. You know, if you know this about your partner that they don't want to talk after 8 o'clock, don't start talking about how you're going to pay the taxes that month.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Knowing the intimacy level, you know, of each conversation is very helpful. And it's not something that we are taught to do or trained to do, or, you know, there's very minimum mirroring or reflection of that in the programs we watch on TV, on these movies. You know, I was watching a movie with my boyfriend this weekend, and oh, oh, painful the way they talk to each other. The whole thing, I was like, oh, I'm going, enjoy that. You know, so this is what we mirror our reality. You know, this is how we find like the role models, and it's so subtle. It you know, infuses in everything you say you can do, because it's all around us. So yeah, what you're saying, Patricia, it's a big part of that. It's a big part of this learning the skills of communicating. Like there is I said mirroring, but there is the skill of mirroring your partner, right? And that is very helpful, because it only helps you to clarify, first of all, what you said, and then what you really meant to say, and then what the person heard you say. So that's a really great way to start a mindful communication, is to say, Patricia, I heard you say that your daughter needed you to be with her in the room, present, but without speaking. Is that what you really said? You know, and maybe Patricia had another point that she was making with this, is that, I don't know, she taught her a lesson, and then in that moment she can say, yeah, not only that, but you know, she taught me this lesson that I carry in the rest of my life. So there's always like ways to clarify, and maybe I could have said something that was not exactly what she meant, but I heard the way I understood, and then would give her some space to say, no, that's not really what I said. What I said was blah, 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 blah. So mirroring conversations are a really great way. And for partnership, whether it's, you know, financial, whether it's business, whether it's like your, you know, your lover, your your partner, it's very helpful, you know. So thank you for bringing that up. For continuing, it reminded me something really special that happened between my son and I, that gave me a great respect for him and a greater view of life in itself, especially moms or parents, let's put parents, or even like interrelationships in families that the bond is really there. There's a lot of gripping, there's a lot of history. And most of the time we can't help but project into others, is what you were saying. The way we feel inside, we project into others. And my son growing up, and he was not let's put like a, a college material, just like I wasn't. I didn't really thrive in school. I thought it was boring. I thought it was not something that was helping me. I couldn't wait to finish. And, sure enough, I had a son that, displayed the same kind of behavior. And my mom did to me what I was doing to my son. And so, what are you going to be? So, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a garbage man? Do you want to work at McDonald's? How are you going to survive? Because if you don't want to go to school, there's not much for you out there, and blah, 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 blah. And I probably did this in some very, very heavy duty developmental, time for him, where that probably created uh, some scar, like a scar, you know. And I realized that all there was, it was the fear that was passed from my grandmother to my mother to me, was being carried on to my son. But once I realized that that was my bag, that that was my fear, that that was my projection, I called him on a conversation and I asked him for forgiveness for throwing my fears and my projections about his life onto him. And I gave him permission to be really, really angry with me. And I asked him to give my baggage back. And however verbal expression that could be, I said, for now, in this moment, you can even curse, son. It's a time that you're going to say, Mom, this is yours and this is yours. And you guess what you said that day is yours too. Take that. Take it. And I said, and I will take it, Dylan, because the truth is that you are an amazing human being. You're going to have an amazing future no matter what you do, because you have all this creativity inside of you and you have all this life inside of you, and there's nothing that can stop you. And my God, what a liberation, what a freedom that gave me. And I could see in his face and his demeanor, his energy, that he was like, thank you, Mother, for doing this. We started crying when we hugged each other. It was a really healing, beautiful, beautiful place. So how many times do we do this with our partner, with our kids, with our parents, because we know better what they should be, right? And so maybe we can even take a moment and just think about, like, because chances are we've done it today. And it comes from love, but it's just that the love is a little tinted with fear. So there's the attachment, the way I see it. And as we see today, the inability for us to unite with different views, because I think you have to think the way I think, because you think that I have to act the way you act. We are becoming more and more and more separate. And what that's doing is becoming more and more separate here, because it's a reflection. Remember, we had that conversation in the beginning. And so our really returning home is a returning to unity. Unity here. Unity here. Right? And understanding that wherever you are perfectly right there where you stand right now. It's just grace. Whatever is manifesting inside of you, whatever is driving you, notice what that is. But for me, looking from outside, I have no business tell you if you're doing something right or wrong. I have no business. So mind our business is maybe a really gray. And I remind myself all the time. My son reminds me, just the other day again, I said, so what are you gonna do after this? Because I know you have all this project. And so what are you gonna do? And then he looked at me and said, really, Mom, again, you're gonna start with this? What are you going to do? And I'm like, oh yeah, the unknown. Isn't it a beautiful thing? Thanks for the reminder, my son.
Mm.
I listened to a song that says, I love when my mom calls and reminds me to brush my teeth. I love when my father reminds me to pray. And sometimes, and especially growing up, we probably hated that call or hated that. Go brush your teeth. But that's what family does. That's what friends do. We call on each other. We call on each other's shit, with kindness. But it's like, hey, 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 I see you. And I just want to remind you, do that thing that you love so much. Or do that thing that you don't love so much, but is really good for you. Or I can see you getting a little bit off of your essence. And so when we call on each other, we can also find a space of like seeing that some of these projections or I don't know, intrusion maybe. It comes from that tentative fear, but really from love. It's like the love with a slight tarnish fear in it.
A little cayenne pepper mixed in.
Cayenne pepper. Sometimes they're too much.
First of all, it's always my greatest part of this experience with you. These past 4 weeks has been listening to you and learning from you. And I swear, I feel like you were a fly on the wall here. My daughter had to come home for a doctor appointment last week, and I had decided it was time for me to have the exact verbatim conversation that you just had, literally verbatim, starting with, I'm taking it back. And I had to be careful not to. I said to her, I want to start by saying all of the mistakes that I have made as your mother came from a place of love, not from a place of, doing harm. And that does not take away what was done to you.
100%. 100%.
And like you said, I loved watching you when you expressed what happened for your son. When we communicate honestly and openly, we not only set ourselves free, but we set the other person free. My daughter was like, thanks so much, Mom.
I know.
And then what happened was this loving moment where she still wants to please her mother. So she says, to be honest with you, I really don't think about it all that much anymore because I'm busy with my life. And that made me feel like, okay, that reminded me and maybe us as women that it's never all bad. We're never doing everything wrong. So, so thank you. That was beautiful, beautiful story.
I guess we can go on and on and on. And you know what I realized, Patricia, as we have like these topics that we talk about, usually after we talk about, I kind of think about them and I really start to experience them in so many different ways in my life. And it's really helping me. It's almost like the Dharma talks when I used to teach and I used to do my Dharma talks and I used to notice how they manifest throughout the week. And this has been like my little Dharma, moment with you. So I, I truly love you. And I hope that you also know that sometimes in between us could be some like misunderstanding, which I don't even think we have experienced that yet. But
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But it may be not. And just like right now, I wanted to tell you this is all from my heart, and I accept you fully from your heart. And it's um it's a really great thing to have your friendship and to be able to talk from our this carefree sort of place.
Yes.
I'm not the most perfect person, and I wouldn't want to be. I don't want to be. I will never be, and I don't strive to be. And I know that you and everybody else are in the same boat. And so there's so much, I don't know, caring and mindfulness as we come together. So I really do appreciate that.
Ditto. Same.
Should we tell them that we're planning to do some asana work together,
Sure. Yeah,
stuff
let's.
together?
Definitely.
Yeah, so Patricia and I are fantasizing some really nice work to share with you where we get to move a little bit and get you moving a little bit. And this is the end of the fourth series that we have kind of given us as a challenge, as a starting point, right, Patricia? Now we have to start a new list, and we are
Yeah.
contemplating making this live. So hopefully you get to join us. Patricia, you don't have Facebook. I mean, she does have Facebook, but she doesn't really check Facebook
Not
at
so
all.
much.
She's like too cool for Facebook, so she's on Instagram. Can you remind your Instagram again?
Yes, it's Patricia. Oh,
Yeah.
wait a second. Well, I was actually going to give you my new email address.
Yeah, do that too.
Yeah. The new email is patriciayoga@gmail.com. And my Instagram is Patricia M Yoga. And how about you, my lovely friend?
So the best way for you to get in touch with me is through social media. So whether it is Facebook or Instagram is Renata Langner. And I also have a website, which I have been putting this conversations into. So it's like one-stop shop kind of place.
Great. Oh, and before we close, very quickly, Metta meditation, METTA. So it's going to be, we might not even do it. I just want to.
No, let's do it. Let's do it like for 3 minutes. You still have time.
Okay. I'm going to do a very watered down version.
No, do it like a potent version.
Do it perfectly. So the first mantra is, may someone that I love be happy and free. Then the next one is, may someone that I'm neutral towards be happy and free, like maybe your postman or the Starbucks barista. Then may someone that the word is strong, but dislike or hate, may they be happy and joyful and free. And then may I be happy, joyful, and free. And then may the whole worlds, the universe, all the planets, all living sentient beings be happy, joyous, and free.
Oh, amen. 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 So there is no better work that we can do to bathe and, dwell in this space that our words have power, our thoughts have power, our intentions have so much power, and that we sit in this space of co-creating existence as it is, so that the way that we can shift this practice to us, then we can from here give back into the environment. Even the environment, we don't even have to go as far as another human being. How about to the rivers? How about to the air that's around? How about, to the environment, to the grass blades of grass that's outside? Love to them. They experience life free. So I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Same, I will.
I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night, of your day, of your morning. May your heart be filled with love and kindness. And we see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much. Blessings.